welcome to Workvantage, the podcast where we explore ideas, innovations, and strategies shaping the future of work. I'm your host, 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗲𝗏𝗧, and today we're talking about one of the most critical drivers of business transformation, sustainability. Once a side initiative, it's now central to how organizations think about purpose, resilience, and growth. Today, we'll explore how LinkedIn is putting sustainability at the heart of its workplaces, embedding it across strategy, design, and operations to foster environments where both people and the planet flourish. Joining me today are two integral members of LinkedIn's sustainability team, 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗏 and Beatriz, who have been instrumental in driving LinkedIn's sustainability initiatives across its global portfolios. Welcome, 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗏 and Beatriz. It's great to have you both here with us today. Before we get started, can you both tell us a little bit about what sparked your interest in sustainability and how has it shaped your path to where you are today?
Great. So I can jump in first. So thanks so much for having us today. So my interest in sustainability sparked from childhood. So I'm South African and grew up spending a lot of time in nature, including South African bush, which foreigners would call safari. Spending my holidays there, I saw the need for conservation efforts, and that drove me to then go and study something within the environmental science realm. So I am a scientist by degree, so I studied environmental science and atmospheric science and oceanographic science. I really enjoyed it, but I spent a lot of my studies in a laboratory, and it made me realize that I just care too much about relationships and people to kind of pursue that as a career path. So although I was really passionate about creating change and essentially saving the world, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do so from within the four walls of a lab. I realized as well just how key it is from a communications perspective to really be able to drive change through sustainability initiatives. So I started at a small sustainability firm in Cape Town, and they focus on buildings, construction sector. So that's then really where my love for design and build began. So it sparked an interest in interiors. From there, I got a similar role, made a move to Johannesburg, and after that found myself in Dublin. And I think what I love about it is that the construction sector is obviously not inherently known for sustainability, and it tends to be known for the environmental harm it does. So it really excites me to work within an industry where we get to change that narrative and come up with innovations and solutions that can make it better than what it would have been if our roles weren't in existence. So that's kind of how my career path began. And when I was in Dublin, I worked on the offices at that time for LinkedIn, the design build. And that's how I then became contracted full-time to LinkedIn. So currently I'm with Athena Blue Global, dedicated to the LinkedIn account in a sustainability program manager role.
Thank you for sharing that, 𝗟𝗏. I appreciate the way you described stepping into a sector that's often seen as part of the problem and working towards making it a part of the solution. Beatriz, I'd love to bring you in next. Could you share a little bit about your journey?
Thanks for having us here today. I'm also really excited to be part of this conversation. I'm originally from Brazil, and similar to 𝗟𝗏, like growing up in Brazil really shaped the way I see sustainability. Brazil is such a beautiful country full of nature, but also I could see the challenge. A challenge related to waste, water issues, and how people are affected by that. Seeing that contrast made me curious about how we can do things better. I completed my studies in environment and sanitary engineer, and I have also completed a master's in sustainable development here in Dublin. And then I have moved to LinkedIn as full-time contractor under Athena Blue Global, contractor 100% to LinkedIn. And over time, like during these few years of my career, I realized that sustainability just isn't just about one person making change. It's really about the collective impact. I'm also a part of 𝗟𝗏's team, so I'm a sustainability program coordinator, and it's just super excited everyone being moving in the same direction. That's really what drew me into this field, the idea of driving change within organization and showing that when people work together, sustainability just become part of how we do things, not something separate.
Beatriz, I completely agree with you about sustainability not being about one person, but being a collective effort. And thank you both for sharing your journey with us today. It's always fascinating to hear the path that brings people to their work. So to get the session started, let's look at the big picture. Sustainability has evolved from being a secondary consideration to becoming central to how organizations are approaching their future. What is the vision driving LinkedIn's sustainability journey today, and what role does the built environment play in achieving it?
Yeah, when it comes to LinkedIn, we're actually owned by Microsoft. So we're held to their corporate commitments, which are to be carbon negative, zero waste, and water positive by 2030. So those are definitely big drivers when it comes to what we focus on as a program. We typically are focused on interventions or initiatives which impact directly on those corporate commitments. That essentially means from a carbon perspective, that would be our operational carbon. So all the energy and associated carbon with our ongoing building operations is completely offset with what we either procure renewable energy directly or we purchase power purchase agreements. Which essentially offset our consumption. And that's, we're on track for scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. And scope 3 is now the big challenge, which for listeners, scope 3 is essentially your emissions associated with your supply chain, both upstream and downstream. So we're focused on that. And it's a lot bigger a challenge because it's out of our control, direct control, versus scope 1 and 2, which we've solved for with Microsoft. And then to be net zero waste, we're focused on our key campus sites to ensure that all waste come 2030 is diverted from landfill. So Beatriz will speak more to that throughout this podcast, the efforts that are being deployed there. And then net positive water. So essentially we need to be reducing our water consumption as much as possible, but actually replenishing the water resources in the locations that we operate. But simultaneously at LinkedIn, we deeply care about employee experience. So we're also focused on any initiative that we deploy to impact on those corporate commitments. It should also have that positive employee experience. And then we're also always looking at, what is the business value and how can we drive cost efficiencies or attain resiliencies. That's, I would say, how we approach things as a program. And I 100% agree with you that things have shifted. So we don't want sustainability to be the separate cost center or silo. So how our program operates is that we really focus heavily on developing relationships and partnerships with the different workplace programs. So think real estate, design, build, operations, and we work with them to ensure that we implement initiatives that are going to really have impact, and we'll look across the different programs to see where that greatest impact will be. So I think similarly to most organizations, the biggest challenge we have now is scope 3. So we're working with these different partners to tackle that.
And then just as also part of our design build project, we focus on implementing initiatives that directly support our corporate commitments. For example, energy efficient systems, reduce water demand in a specific site by installing low flow filters, for example. We also conduct water balance studies just to understand how water flows through the building. We are also taking things a step further by looking at climate risk and resilience. For example, we have conducted studies to better understand potential risks and plan ahead to manage them proactively for our sites.
Thank you both for sharing those insights. Seeing how Microsoft's commitments are translated into action across carbon, water and waste, and climate resilience really highlights how comprehensive this whole approach is. It's a great example of strategy shaping action at every level. On that note, sustainability has evolved from focusing primarily on environmental impact to considering broader organizational and cultural factors. How have you seen the shift play out in practice at LinkedIn?
Yes, so as a program, I've definitely seen this in practice and the evolution of it. So when we began, we were dedicated specifically to just design build projects, and we were focused on certifications at our different construction sites, particularly the LEED certification, which listeners will likely know is environmental related. So focused on things which impact our corporate commitments, so reducing water, energy, and diverting waste. But yeah, that's where we've started. And then over time, over the years, we've definitely evolved as a program, and we now take a much more holistic life cycle approach. Our scope has now expanded to cover all of workplace. So I think it's great because we're now able to look at things from the beginning stages. So think real estate, so lease agreements, setting ourselves up for success. And then we can go into the design build element where we can influence the construction to be as sustainable as it can possibly be through our standards. And then finally, we carry on through to operations. So providing operations with the support needed to ensure, that we are reducing the amount of waste at our sites, supporting behavioral change. So it's really looking at the full picture, and it allows us to actually start seeing the ROI and business value of certain investments when you're looking at it from a big picture lens. So that's been really exciting to see as part of our program. And then LinkedIn's always cared about employee health and well-being. It's always been a key priority. And so we had this environmental focus, but we actually created sustainability standards that expanded beyond just the environmental scope to also include health and well-being. Things like daylight ingress, making sure employees are within a certain proximity of a window, air quality, very focused on ventilation, as well as lighting, acoustics. We have our own set of acoustic standards. So we've definitely expanded things. So when we talk about the sustainability and engineering team, our scope goes beyond just environmental. It's really how do we create high performance, efficient spaces.
Yeah, and then when we look at sustainability holistic, it really means for us connecting different parts of the business. As Claire was saying, from how we design and build our space from lease to how we operate then every day. Another great example would be like on the design build side, we have brought the same mindset of circularity. We essentially work closely with our general contractors to improve construction demolition diversion. And how we do that would be by selecting facilities that can recover more materials and encouraging better sorting right at the source. We also think about design efficiency. Use materials in a way that generates least waste possible. When there is a leftover material or furniture, we always look for ways to reuse or repurpose it before considering disposal. Of course, there is always some point in time where some waste is unavoidable. So we also focus on the education piece, making sure that everyone that's involved knows how to handle materials properly and that nothing that is recycled or reusable ends up landfill. So another great example on this would be through our food program. We have switched from durables and book snacks. We have reduced single-use packaging waste. By reducing single-use packaging, we would be a step further to achieve our zero waste goals. At the same time, when we do that, is appreciate the convenience and quality. I would say it is small but visible ways sustainability shows up in the day-to-day experience. And it's really, for us, it's really about how sustainability shows up across everything we do. It's really about connecting kind of the dots between our corporate commitments and the employee experience. So just basically where people see sustainability reflects in the space that they use and the food they eat. It stop being really treated as an isolated program. It just become a part of the culture of the company.
The way LinkedIn weaves sustainability throughout its workplace ecosystem really shows how everything is connected. In practice, implementing these initiatives often requires collaboration across multiple functions. So how do different teams work together to ensure that these projects meet sustainability objectives effectively and efficiently?
Yeah, great question. As Beatriz mentioned, there's a lot of integration between teams within LinkedIn. So I think what really makes our program unique is that we're not just the LinkedIn sustainability team or workplace sustainability team. We're the LinkedIn workplace sustainability and engineering team. So we have several engineers on our team that Beatriz and I work with daily. This really sets our program up for success because sometimes we'll come and advise and say, you need to do XYZ initiative at the site to reduce water consumption or reduce energy consumption. But it might not necessarily be entirely practical or feasible at that site based on the systems involved there and the day-to-day operations, level of control. So I think that's what's so beneficial of our team, is that we get to run those solutions via our internal engineers to make sure it is something which is feasible before going and deploying. And I think we also tend to take an approach of research. So go and get the information that's out there, pilot at a small scale, get feedback from the different programs and teams involved, and then where we see something as successful as part of a pilot, we can then go and act and scale that. And that's typically been the process that we've leveraged to date and seems to be working successfully. So that's one way that we get to incorporate the different stakeholders, and just heavily investing in the relationships. So we're constantly talking with teams to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, that we're not a separate silo. Again, when it comes to our standards from a design build perspective, there's a lot of dependency. We require these other teams to buy into it to see the actual success. So a simple example would be our standards. We need our project management teams buy-in to ensure that those are incorporated consistently in projects in the RFPs. Again, with real estate, like if we want to get certain data at certain sites, we need the request included for, or the requirements included for within the leases. It's taken us, reaching out to these different partners, having the conversation, and then continuing to work together until we start seeing the results.
Yeah, a great example on how different teams work together would be our true or zero risk commitment. To achieve that goal isn't something that is assigned to a single department, isn't assigned to our engineer and sustainability team. It is really a shared goal, it's a shared effort. The facilities teams need to make sure that all spaces are set up for success, always haulers managing materials responsibly, and employees doing their part. That's the way we think, that's the way we set up for success. It's about changing habits, getting employees to pause and think before they touch something. It's about leaders supporting the effort. And then our waste partners helping us find smarter, more circular ways to handle materials. That's what cross-functional collaboration really looks like in practice. Everyone's really understand their role, and we are all pulling in the same direction. I think we just stopped thinking sustainability as a separate initiative, and it's just become part of how we operate every day.
It's really interesting to see how bringing together different teams can turn ambitious goals into real results. And collaboration clearly plays a huge role in making sure that these initiatives succeed. Getting back to what Claire mentioned earlier about Scope 3 carbon, the upstream emission that is often the hardest to measure and manage, how has LinkedIn worked with its suppliers to address these challenges?
Great. So I guess we're making efforts across a lot of the different workplace streams, but an example that comes to mind would be our reporting methodologies. Up until now, and this is not just LinkedIn, this is most corporations, when it comes to Scope 3 carbon, will often report using a spend-based methodology. So what that means is, like on a construction project, you would take the total amount of spend that you have with a general contractor, for all the materials, and you would apply a carbon 𝗿𝗏 factor, or like an industry average carbon factor, to get the total amount of carbon for that project. And the issue with that is it's not very accurate. And the reason being, if you think about it, a lot in some instances, maybe sustainability materials cost more if they're better quality, more sustainable, longer lasting products. So what ends up happening is you made the better sustainability choice, but it's showing up negatively in terms of your carbon. It's going to show up as more carbon using a spend-based methodology. So we want to shift away from that. And LinkedIn, as part of Microsoft, have been a part of an effort to develop a new methodology where we pivot to using actuals, so using the actual EPD, environmental product declaration data for these different materials. And so we are now piloting that methodology and starting to get the actuals on projects. And so what that means is we are asking design teams and general contractors to complete life cycle assessments on all our interior fit outs. And we've actually set material performance specifications. So essentially what that is a carbon cap for certain high impact materials. So you can't exceed this amount of carbon. And by doing that and giving these to the different teams, we've seen that it's pushed the industry along. And that this is not just LinkedIn alone. This is a collective of businesses, right, asking for this data. And so we've seen a big shift there. And when we developed these material performance specifications a few years back, there was a handful of products that complied with the carbon and health criteria. And this year, we've just done a cost study, an analysis to see how much more are we paying for these more sustainable materials for these high impact fittings and finishes within our interior spaces. And we found that there's no cost differential. So just to caveat, that's not MEP equipment, but the standard fittings and fixtures like that, that's huge. Like that's a massive win. So we've seen that shift in the industry already, that we can now get these more affordable products. And also within the different regions. When we began, we found that the market was predominantly US based, but now we're starting to get these same products in India. And so that's a huge win. So we've definitely seen the push there. And it continues. So we're now starting to leverage some modular systems in our spaces. And that's quite a new, product offering, and they don't all have EPDs. And so we're working with those suppliers that we want to use, and they've now developed not third-party EPDs yet. We'll work with them to do that, but they've developed LCA data around those products. So again, we're seeing GCs actually start to pursue these standards, and so that's been really exciting to see. So that would be one example of the industry shift.
A few years ago, when we looked at our construction demolition waste data, we are consistently meeting our 75% diversion target across North America, but not in some of our APAC regions. So in places like Bangalore, the infrastructure wasn't just there yet. Facilities for sorting and diverting waste were limited by the time, and then achieving that high diversion rates was a real challenge. But then what we have seen recently on our new projects in APAC, we have been able to meet that 75% diversion goal. So this improvement has come through a mix of on-site separation and better access to facilities that handle materials more efficiently. So what is exciting is that this progress, just as Claire was saying, is not only driven by LinkedIn alone. It's really part of a broader market transformation. Basically, more companies are pursuing LEED certification, or they setting their own sustainability goals. Local suppliers and contractors are stepping up to meet those higher standards, higher expectations. What we see as one company commitment can help lift the entire industry. So this is exactly the kind of impact that we want to have, and is really excited to be part of this market transformation.
It's impressive to see how LinkedIn's initiatives are driving change not just internally, but across suppliers and creating an industry-wide ripple effect. As Claire highlighted, efforts like the updated reporting methodologies and the new material standards are helping to definitely push these changes. And as Beatriz mentioned, adapting to local contexts also plays a huge role. With that in mind, global sustainability frameworks provide a good baseline, but every region and project has unique priorities. How has LinkedIn balanced certification requirements with local needs?
Great. So we definitely do take into account local context. So I would say we have processes in place that even though we have these global standards, I guess with the number of design build projects we have, there are many, but it's at a scale where we still have direct contact with our sustainability professionals. And I think that's key or really important. So we meet with them on a regular cadence. And so having those conversations, we learn a lot about the local context. So we have our standards, but they'll essentially track to our standards and they'll say, in this scenario, we can't achieve whatever the standard is because the market's not there yet. We've been able to find this product which maybe exceeds your carbon threshold by a really, really small amount, but it means we can still source locally versus importing a product. And then we just have those conversations in real time as part of those meetings, and we'll approve certain deviations as we see fit. Also, we have incorporated into our standards opportunities to really focus on sustainability initiatives that better suit different contexts by including a sustainability challenge. So that's part of our standards where we ask project teams to come up with ideas that they think would add business value to that particular project, and that would typically take into account the local context. So maybe in the likes of India, it would be something related to water. Maybe in a different region, it would be material related, whatever it may be. I would say the local context really comes through there too. And as a program, we're constantly iterating our standards based on those learnings, and then teams in the future can take that into account.
Yeah, as Claire was saying, every region is different. So what works in California doesn't always work the same way in Bangalore, for example. So we do have those minimum requirements, and we encourage teams to come to us with alternative approach that makes sense for the local context.
It's great to hear about how LinkedIn balances global standards and local realities, and how continued communication and iterations help shape projects on the ground. Speaking of looking after people, I'd love to hear more about LinkedIn's well-being initiatives and how they're being implemented at the workplace.
LinkedIn does prioritize the use of different multiple space types, and ensuring that employees have the different spaces that they need to do their best work, whether it's head down focus zones, and whether it's the open neighborhoods. Like everyone has, there's something for everyone. And yes, they very much focus on inclusivity, where we have mothers' rooms, and we, to go back to health and well-being, prioritize daylight and employees having that, but also biophilia. So our more recent projects, there's several examples where we've included the natural materials, daylight ingress plants for that connection to nature, because we do know there's research out there that it does improve mood, and even the choice of our lighting, the color temperatures used, it all plays back into health and well-being. So the moods that we can create, allowing for visual comfort, reducing eye strain, all of this goes into our designs. So I would say our health and well-being standards are pretty standard across the globe. So we adhere to local codes everywhere. So that's met, but we would typically exceed that. So wherever we have control, we ensure that ventilation levels are above the ASHRAE requirements per Wellbeing industry standard. We also ensure, F7 filtration, the best filters at MERV 13 that we can install are installed. The daylight ingress we prioritize wherever our lighting and acoustic standards, given it's how the space is designed. It's less to do with like local context. That's the same everywhere. So we try and ensure that consistency, because obviously no matter where you're based, an employee is a LinkedIn employee, and their health and well-being matters and is important. So we try and ensure that those standards are relatively consistent. But I'm sure, and it goes back to that resiliency scenario too, as we look out into the future and we know we're exceeding, the IPCC 1.5 degree warming, and we're going to start seeing more natural disasters. Like that's where we're going to have to start taking into account more site-by-site climate risk, which also is going to have knock-on effects for health of individuals. So I see in the future that might look different based on different regions, based on what you're going to prioritize by different sites. But right now, as it stands, we really do the utmost to ensure that our indoor air quality is the best across the board.
Thanks, Claire. It's inspiring to see how sustainability and well-being come together at LinkedIn. As these initiatives evolve, do you see AI playing a role in how your team functions?
Yes, so AI is definitely critical. So it's definitely helping us advance our sustainability goals more efficiently and effectively. So I would say through our ongoing retro commissioning efforts, so we're leveraging AI to get better data quality and understand how our buildings are performing in real time, and then also integrating AI-based fault detection diagnostics, so FDD tools that help us continuously monitor systems and identify any issues for immediate resolution. We're also leveraging AI in the form of co-pilot agents, so helping to just streamline the deployment of our guidelines. And then I would say also working with vendors and partners to see how we could use AI within their tools to really make processes more efficient. Going back to like life cycle assessments, how can we make it easier for our GCs? Like how amazing if they could just type in the product name and it automatically assigns an EPD and a life cycle assessment tool. So those are all use cases and ways we're thinking about AI to try make processes more efficient.
Thinking about how AI can help us to meet our corporate commitment. I'll speak again about ops waste, because I think it's just a great example on how AI could help educate employees on how to store waste correctly, making sure that employees they contribute to meet the zero waste commitment goals that we have. Those kind of tools that we're exploring might just give people real-time feedback at the point of disposal, so they learn as they go. It's really what I would say is like two birds, one stone approach. Employee help us achieve our zero waste goal by sorting better at work, and they also take those habits at home to bring in awareness into daily lives, not only at the office but also at home.
It's fascinating to see how AI is being used not just to make processes more efficient, but also to drive employee engagement and behavioral change as well. As we wrap up, building on these practical approaches, what's one actionable strategy you'd suggest to organizations aiming to make a meaningful impact in their sustainability journey?
So mine's kind of one, maybe two, but it would definitely be make the business case. So I think as sustainability professionals, we need to think about how it is that we communicate things. So it goes back to my original point of why I wanted to get into this profession or move out of the research side of things. I think if we actually want to see change, it's like we need to start thinking about how do we frame that solution or that intervention or initiative. So if you're talking to the CFO, going in and saying we need to do the right thing might not be the best way to communicate it. Like rather go there being like, this is going to make your processes more efficient and it's going to save you X amount of dollars. Like long term, like there typically is a return of investment or some kind of benefit, even if it's brand value, right? Maybe it's not direct money and cents, but maybe it's brand value. Like how can you show that? Yeah, think about it the way that you're communicating it and show the business case would really be key. And then educate. So if we can educate, it goes back to your point of not having sustainability be the separate silo. So if you can educate and help different teams understand how they can make more sustainable choices to achieve efficiencies within their programs, they'll start being able to make those decisions without even needing to come to us, so that every team knows sustainability is inherent within what they do. I think that would be the best angle. So yeah, if I were sustainability teams, I'd be thinking about how it is I communicate to leadership, my business case for implementing what it is I want to do. And I would be thinking about how do I communicate with my partners so that I can equip them to make the right choices or decisions.
Yeah, and then for me, I think being on that team and everything that I have experienced so far, like if I could just pick one thing, would be focus on collaboration. I think the impacts happen when people come together. You see things actually working when people come together. As Claire was saying, when every team understands their role and feels part of the solution, whether it's like reducing waste, sourcing locally, saving water, just cutting carbon, making better sustainability choice, it's just really bring stakeholders early. When you think about pursuing a certification, just a team itself cannot pursue the certification. Needs to bring different teams, needs to bring design, architecture, MEP, everyone needs to be together. So it's exactly the same logic. I would say just bring a stakeholder in early, like facility managers, teams, vendors, employees, leadership. Everyone has a piece, because when it becomes part of the future, it's not we wouldn't be treating sustainability as just like a one program, isolated program. And that's where I believe the real change starts. So if I could just pick one thing, would be focus on collaboration.
Thank you, Claire and Beatrice. Your advice really highlights two key pillars of driving meaningful sustainability: making the business case so that teams and leadership understand the value, and fostering collaboration so that everyone feels like they're a part of the solution. It's clear that when sustainability becomes inherent in how teams operate, real impact is sure to follow. From embedding sustainability across design, operations, and supplier engagement to leveraging AI and supporting employee well-being, LinkedIn demonstrates how strategy, action, and culture can align to drive real and measurable impact. For our listeners, I hope today's conversation sparks ideas for integrating sustainability into your own organizations in a practical and actionable way. Thank you for joining us on WorkVantage. We look forward to welcoming you to our next session.